Chad Gable's storyline is picking up momentum, so we'll see what's up there. We'll also check out what's up with Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and more. Starting things off with Chad Gable and his storyline that's quickly picking up a lot of steam. Chad Gable is coming fresh off his historically great match against El Grande Americano. It was an instant classic, an instant match of the year candidate, and one of the greatest wrestling matches in recent memory. The match was off the charts. The storyline and storytelling overall was on a whole other level. Just truly amazing work there that deserves all the words of praise and fan acknowledgement. And with the mask versus mask match, it was clear heading into that match that there would no longer be two Grande Americanos. Since Chad Gable lost that mask versus mask match, that officially marks the end of his version of the character. He was unmasked, and Ludwig's version of El Grande Americano is now the only remaining Grande Americano. A lot of fans wondered what would happen to Chad Gable following his unmasking, and we're starting to get a sense that direction. Chad Gable is finally going by his regular ring name, and he's officially at the start of a full redemption arc. Chad Gable spiraled out of control in early 2025 after losing to Penta in Penta's debut match. This led to Chad Gable really looking into Lucha Libre and eventually creating the Grande Americano persona. But not as a way to honor Lucha Libre. Chad Gable was doing it more in a mockery sense. But ironically enough, making fun of Lucha Libre and making light of it actually showed Chad Gable the deep values and culture of Lucha Libre, and he finally understood it and grew to respect it through his journey as Grande Americano. Following his unmasking in AAA, Chad Gable returned to the main roster looking like he may be a free agent for either Raw or Smackdown to sign. He made his official return as Chad Gable on the June 5th edition of Smackdown as he entered Nick Aldi's room to potentially speak about a deal with Smackdown. But it looks like that deal with Smackdown probably wasn't reached, because Chad Gable ended up appearing on the June 8th edition of Raw and had a huge role to play there on the show. Gable appeared to apologize directly to Penta and talk about how he was so wrong to act the way he did since he put on that mask. Penta accepted his apology but told Gable that there was one important man he had to talk to if he wanted to apologize for making a mockery of Lucha Libre, and that was, of course, Rey Mysterio. Chad Gable found Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee to apologize to them, and they accepted his apology as well. But Rey Mysterio did drop a big hint about who could be next for Chad Gable to visit. Rey told Gable that he feels like there's someone else he should apologize to. Someone from a time period before he even put on the Grande Americano mask. Rey Mysterio didn't name the person specifically, but it sure does seem like Rey was referring to Maxxine and Alpha Academy. Chad Gable might have made a mockery of Lucha Libre and did a lot of harm there, but can't forget that Alpha Academy were the ones originally dealing with a lot of the verbal abuse from Chad Gable. Gable flipped on his Alpha Academy students and verbally ripped them apart week after week until he fully abandoned them. So it sounds like Rey was saying now that Gable has the forgiveness of the entire Lucha Libre community, he should go pay the Alpha Academy a visit and apologize to them. We didn't see Chad Gable do that on the June 8th edition of Raw, but it surely does seem like something we have a strong chance of seeing on June 15th. Just a moment of Chad Gable walking up to Alpha Academy and attempting to earn their forgiveness. Which will definitely be a tall task because he put them through a lot. It'll also be interesting to see if Maxxine will stand her ground and refuse to accept Chad's apology, because Maxxine is going through a character transition right now herself. She's been hanging out a lot lately with Austin Theory and appears to be on the brink of joining the Vision. We've been waiting a long time to see Maxxine finally distance herself from the Alpha Academy and join the Vision. It hasn't happened yet, but you do have to wonder if this upcoming apology from Chad Gable to Alpha Academy could be what makes Maxxine finally snap and lose it. Especially if the rest of the Alpha Academy accepts the apology from Chad Gable. Maybe it's who Maxxine doesn't accept it, and that's the final straw to get her to fully leave Alpha Academy's side. Maxxine was deeply hurt by the betrayal that Chad Gable did to her and how he treated her. So if Maxxine is a bit hesitant to accept his apology and that makes her ditch the Alpha Academy herself, it's hard to blame her there. It's kinda justified. So that's the big moment to look forward to there. This apology tour for Chad Gable will continue to come Alpha Academy's way, but how Maxxine will take it is the big question there. That wasn't it for Chad Gable on this episode of Raw. Following Penta and Rey Mysterio's match, Rusev and Ethan Page came out to attack Rey, and there was even a moment there of Rusev ripping off Rey Mysterio's mask from his head. This was all done in order to set up Chad Gable marching his way into the ring to take out Ethan Page and Rusev, and for him to return the mask to Rey Mysterio. And that's exactly what Chad Gable did. He took them out, picked up Rey's mask from the floor, and handed it back to Rey. That's beautiful writing to continue Chad Gable's redemption arc. He went out there and protected Rey Mysterio's legacy and honor, and certainly fully redeems Chad Gable to Rey, Lucha Libre, and to the fans. So it's looking like an amazing babyface transition for Chad Gable, with a lot of momentum being on his side. Fans are just hoping that this momentum and babyface run doesn't get lost in the shuffle and derailed, because if used right, they could have something special here with Chad Gable and his redemption arc. But if they sit on it and don't do anything with this momentum Chad Gable currently has, then of course it's going to fizzle out. But Chad Gable is definitely off to a great start here for this babyface transition, and everyone is hoping that the momentum stays strong there for him. Something else that was heavily teased on this week's Raw was the potential of seeing Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins at Summerslam. This is a matchup that's been all over the reports and rumors over the last few days, since it was rumored that Roman versus Seth was going down at SummerSlam. And that match was heavily hinted at throughout the entire episode of Raw. It all started when Seth Rollins noted that if he won the King of the Ring tournament, he would use it to book a date against Roman Reigns for the world title. Seth's argument being that the World Heavyweight title does not belong to Roman, and how it belongs to him since no one ever technically defeated him for the title and he had to relinquish it. This was followed by another segment between Jimmy J and Jacob confronting Seth Rollins in the locker room. They warned Seth to watch the way he was speaking about their family, and Seth took shots at them for falling back in line under Roman, and how he was disappointed to see them run back to their old spot of doing Roman's dirty work. Seth even stirred the pot a bit by pointing out how Jimmy was not even included at all in the King of the Ring tournament. So definitely a lot of potential early seeds for Roman versus Seth. But when it came to the King of the Ring Round 1 tournament later on that night, Seth Rollins ended up getting screwed out of the match by Braun Breaker and Austin Theory. A lot of fans were expecting Seth to win the entire tournament in order to face Roman at SummerSlam, but that's no longer happening. Seth's feud with The Vision is continuing instead. But surprisingly enough, there's still a way Roman versus Seth could potentially happen at SummerSlam. If the King of the Ring winner selects to face Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, that means Roman still needs an appointment for SummerSlam, and there may be an alternate way for Seth to still earn that SummerSlam opportunity. So although Seth lost in the King of the Ring tournament, there's still a bit of hope that the match can still happen at SummerSlam. But there's also a possibility that they could hold on to that match until even WrestleMania. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.